Absolutely. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with really amazing and awesome people all around the world. My name is Seun, and I'm a product manager, and I'm also a book author. I authored my first book last year, and the title of the book is Leadership 101 for Millennials and Gen Zs. And hopefully, I should be launching another book before the end of the year. Thank you for having me. Today, I'll be talking about a very interesting topic, and that is how to manage your manager. The reason why I find this topic really interesting is because when you go online and when you read lots of books, most people talk about how managers should be better managers or how managers should be better leaders, but very few people talk about how to manage their managers. So, all I'm saying is online, you find how the top should manage the bottom, but you rarely find resources on how the bottom should manage the top. And that is going to be the focus for today's conversations. For today's conversation. Well, I know this slide looks very catchy, but the way to manage your manager is not by fighting with them. I only put this slide just to get your attention. That said, let's get right into the conversation. Okay, there's some fun facts I want to share with you just before I get into the conversation proper. And one of the fun facts I want to share is according to Zapier, on the average, the millennial is going to spend about 2.7 years in a particular organization or in a particular company. I have lots of friends, and you see that within 2 or 3 years, most of my friends are changing organization. And that is a trend amongst millennials. And most likely, this trend is going to continue. If not, it's going to get worse. And I believe this trend should be particularly, we should be interested in this trend because the Gen Zs and the millennials are a major part of today's modern day workforce. The average millennial is going to work for at least 5 companies before they turn 34. Now, I know a lot of you will be wondering, why am I sharing these statistics? And I'm going to tell you the why in my next slide. These are the top 5 reasons why lots of people are leaving many organizations. Now, for your organization to really grow, you definitely need to figure out a way to keep talent within your organization. Lots of startups are going to die because the people that are supposed to, hold that startup together eventually leave the organization for one reason or the other. And these are the top 5 reasons I believe people leave an organization. Now, these top 5 reasons are based on certain research I did by asking questions and by reading lots of resources online. And when I did my research, I came to the conclusion that these are the top 5 reasons why people will leave an organization. Number one, people would leave an organization if they find better remuneration elsewhere. So if they find better salaries, if they find better perks, if they find better pension plan, if they find better stock options in another organization, they are most likely going to leave your organization. I mean, if people perceive that they're going to get like a 30% raise in salary or a 50% raise in salary, you probably cannot beat that, right? So it's one way people, or one reason why people would want to leave an organization, for better remuneration. The second reason why I think people will want to leave an organization is if within your organization they don't see any growth plan. So let's give a case study. Let's say someone is a software engineer in your organization and they've been a junior software engineer in your organization for about 5 years. If there is no growth plan within your organization, most likely they're going to leave. So if another organization is offering them a mid-level software engineering position or offering them a senior level position or giving them an offer that shows how they can grow within their organization, then most likely they're going to leave your company or your organization. So, secondly, many people will leave an organization if there is no growth plan within your company or within your organization. A third reason why I believe many people will leave an organization is if there is no work life balance. And in my case, I like to call it life work balance because I believe your life, your personal life comes before your work. Your work is a part of your personal life, and your life is not a part of your work. So, if there is no life work balance, then people will leave an organization. If people have to work beyond 40 hours, beyond 50 hours, and they're getting burnt out always, even if you give them good salaries, most likely they would want to leave your company or your organization. And this is why remote work is becoming a modern day trend in today's modern day workforce. A fourth reason I believe people will leave an organization is because of the work culture. So if you have a very terrible work culture where people come into work every day and they are not happy with the work that they do every day, then most likely they might want to leave your organization. And the fifth reason, which I believe is the biggest reason why people might leave an organization, has to do with their direct line manager. When I was doing this research and I talked with a lot of people, many people say they'll stay in a company even if the remuneration is not so great, and even if the work culture is not so great, and even if the work life balance is not so great. They might likely stay within an organization if they have a very good relationship with their manager. But in cases where people even have very big salaries and the company is great, but when their direct line manager doesn't have a very great relationship with them, there are high chances that they might want to leave an organization. So, just to recap, we've established that there are five major reasons why people leave an organization. They leave an organization either for better remuneration, or if there's no clear path to their career progression, or if there's no work life balance, or if there's a terrible work culture. And we say the fifth reason why modern day people will leave an organization is if they don't have a great relationship with their direct line manager. Now, I believe, based on the conversations I had with a lot of young people, especially people working in tech, I believe the biggest factor for keeping people within an organization among these top five reasons would be uh, to have a very good line manager. This is a deal breaker for most people, according to the research I conducted. Now, if you think otherwise, it's fine. Please feel free to leave your comments and let me know what you think. And I would like to have a conversation with you if possible. That said, let's get deeper into our conversation. Now, given that I just stated that your relationship with your direct line manager is most likely going to influence how you act within an organization and if you are going to stay within an organization, the next question is, how can you effectively manage this relationship with your direct line manager? So how can you effectively manage your manager in this case? Now, before we talking about this, I think we need to establish the importance for why you need to be able to effectively manage your manager. Now, I just gave three reasons here, but I believe that there are more reasons why you should know how to effectively manage your manager. First off, being able to manage your manager is going to guarantee growth in your professional career. So you start out in a company, let's say as a junior product manager, you definitely want to become a mid-level product manager, and then you want to become a senior level product manager. Now, having very good relationship with your direct line manager is going to guarantee your professional progression within your organization. Secondly, It's going to foster an improved work environment where you come into work every day and you're not feeling frustrated, but you are happy with the work that you are doing every day. Thirdly, this is going to impact your performance, right? If you have very good relationship with your direct line manager, you are getting feedback timely, this is going to improve the quality of work that you bring to the table every day. Now, in this conversation or in this presentation, I'm going to be sharing a few tips with you on how you can effectively manage your manager. Are you ready? Let's go. These are 7 tips that I think would help you on how to effectively manage your manager. First off, you need to understand your manager. You need to understand what are their goals, what are their strengths, what are their style, what are their weaknesses. You need to know what your manager needs, and you should, adapt your style to fit what they need. Now, I'm going to give you a story or a case study of something that happened to me. When I joined a particular organization to work on a project for about 6 months, I was coming from a previous organization where I always had to do slide presentations. So if I had ideas of what I needed to do or I wanted to bring something to the table, I had to create slides and present it. But when I joined this new company on a project for 6 months, I realized that the major stakeholders did not like slide presentations. Instead, they liked flow charts. Now, because they like flow charts, I had to adapt my style of presentation to what they had. And I realized that most people that were trying to enforce the use of slide presentation struggled within the organization. Another one that happened to me was I realized that some of our stakeholders, one of the things that worked best for them is to show them statistics in form of a pie chart. So if you just drop a number in text form saying 12% did this or 30% did this, they most likely won't follow with your conversation. But when you drop pie charts and you drop bar charts, once they can see that infographic and they could see those images, then you really got their attention. And so if you're going to work effectively with a manager, you need to understand them. You need to understand their goals. You need to understand what they like so that you can adapt your conversations and you can adapt your style of work to fit their preference. So that is one way to effectively manage your manager. Another way to effectively manage your manager is by communicating constantly. I always say this, and this is my mantra: over communication is better than under communication. It is better to over communicate than to under communicate. So when you're talking with your manager, you want to keep them informed on all that is going on. You want to regularly check in with them. If they've given you a task to perform and something is not clear, you want to make sure that you get clarity from them. If you're supposed to work on a project with them and it seems like you're not entirely sure, before you jump the gun and dive very deep into your task, you want to make sure that you clarify with your manager. And effectively communicating with them is going to help you overcome this hurdle. Another way to effectively manage your manager is by being very proactive. So you want to jump on needs as soon as possible. You want to make sure that you are the guy that people want to run to when things need to be done. I was working for my dad. My dad is late, by the way. My dad had an organization, and I was privileged to work in his organization for a few years. And while I was working with him one day, he told me something that was very profound. He had 2 employees, and this was what he said. He said, employee A, when I give him a task, I can go to sleep knowing, rest assured that he is going to perform it. He's going to be proactive. He's going to reach out to me if there are blockers. He's going to find a way to, come up with solutions to their problem. However, there is employee B that I always have to check up on and follow up on. He's not telling me if he runs into blockers, he's always not telling me. I have to be the proactive one as his manager. Now, no manager wants to work with this kind of person. This is a very frustrating experience. So if you want to work effectively with your manager, you want to make sure that you are being proactive. Next up, you want to make sure you are someone that actively seeks for feedback. Now, when you're working with a manager, one of the questions that you can ask in your one-on-one or when you're talking with your manager is by telling them, hey, what can I do to get better? What are the things I need to improve on? Where are the areas I'm killing it? Where are the areas I'm doing well? And what are the areas that needs improvement? So constantly seeking feedback from a manager is going to help you close up on the gaps that your manager sees in your work. Then next up, you have to build trust. By building trust, you deliver on promises, you deliver on deadlines. And if you're unable to deliver on deadlines, you should communicate effectively, just as we stated earlier. You should own up when you make a mistake. You should be able to take responsibility and be honest. So this is a way to build trust with your manager. Don't be too defensive when you make a mistake. Own up to say, yes, I made this mistake. However, I'm willing to take steps to cover up on my lapses. Next up, you want to clearly set expectations with your manager. So before you start the cycle, talk with your manager. Say, hey, what are the things I need to do to crush it in this quarter? What are the things I need to do to be able to get promoted to the next level? Set very clear expectation. Don't work ambiguously with your manager, because if you do this, you might have a definition of an expectation in mind, whilst your manager has a different expectation of deliverable in mind. And once there is this clash, you might be putting your best foot forward, but your manager is not saying this. But if you want your manager to see the work that you're doing, you need to clearly set expectations with your manager. And of course, similar to clearly setting expectations, you should clearly manage expectations. If certain things would be a challenge for you, if setting deliverables is going to be really difficult for you, or if you need support in some way, you want to make sure that you are clearly setting this expectation and communicating effectively with your manager. And I believe I've talked about adaptation, where you understand the style of work of your manager and you are constantly adapting and improving. Now, this is something very important I believe I should mention. Whilst you might be trying your best to impress your manager and put your best foot forward, you should also know when to develop a growth plan with your manager, and also know when to escalate issues if your manager becomes very abusive. There are cases where there are managers that are sexually abusing someone or abusing people because of their nationality or because of their culture or because of their way of life. You should be able to know when to escalate issues if your manager is not being professional. And in as much as you're trying your best to manage your manager, if it becomes really difficult, then you should know when to draw the line and to know when you should leave your organization. There are two books I want to recommend if you want to better understand how to manage your manager. The first book is The Art of Managing Up for Career Progression, written by Shola Osinoiki. It's a very great book if you want to know how to manage your manager for career growth within any organization. And this is also going to help you to manage your stakeholders. Let's say if you're a startup founders and you want to be able to effectively manage your investors and whatnot, this is a great book to know how to manage up for career progression. And the next book I want to recommend, of course, is my book, Leadership 101 for Millennials and Gen Zs. This book is specifically great for leaders and managers, so you know how to lead and manage people under you. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Do connect with me on LinkedIn. If you click on the presentation, it's going to take you directly to my LinkedIn profile, and you can check out my website. Shoot me a message. I'll be glad to have coffee with you. Thank you so much.